This episode is sponsored by Realtor.com, who wants you to take advantage of your free profile on Realtor.com. By claiming and completing your free profile, adding a photo, and all of the information that puts you head and shoulders above the competition, you're on your way to receiving free leads, helping search engines find you, and staying top of mind with past clients. To learn more about claiming your free profile, go to Realtor.com/profile.
Welcome to the Real View podcast, where Ohio Realtors connect you to innovators and influencers, keeping you with the real view of real estate. Whether you're a broker, agent, first-time homebuyer, industry leader, or just happen to stumble upon our podcast today, you can expect to hear tips, tools, tricks, interesting information, and so much more from the experts in Ohio's real estate game.
Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Real View podcast. I am your host, Allison Wiley. Joining me today is Claire Groom. She's a real estate agent in New York City, accomplished in her field and well respected by her clients. Claire Groom has been selling real estate in New York since 2001. Ranked among RealTrends' top real estate agents by sales volume in 2019, she's an award-winning agent who has sold over $300 million in real estate. Her success comes from the fact that she knows her business very well, which is why she's on the show today, has a keen eye for value and potential, and delivers honest service to every client. She works with an extensive global referral network that positions her clients in the best capable hands, no matter where they are looking to live in the world. Claire, welcome onto the show. I'm so happy to have you.
Well, thank you for having me. It's nice to meet you.
Yes, it's nice to meet you too. I'm super excited to be talking to you and hearing your perspective on this world of networking. And I'm excited to talk about it on the show today because it's so important to what we do as realtors. So much of our business, starts with networking. And that's how we grow and elevate and take our business to the next level. And who better to talk about it than you? Because as we went through in your bio, you have quite the extensive network that you've created for yourself and the relationships that you've developed. So you're going to tell us all your secrets and how to do it. So I'm super excited. And I want to thank you again for joining me here today.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if I really have any secrets. I'm one of those brokers that sit down every year and do a business plan, but I never can really understand or comprehend where my business comes from every year because it's always random business that people send me or referrals. I mean, I've been doing this long enough now that I'm not, seeking it out like I used to. I don't do as many mailings. I do some because I do think they're effective. But, in terms of figuring out where my business comes from, it's just referrals, really. And that's why I joined my firm that I'm currently with, because we're global networking. And I started going to all these networking events, which have been super fun. And I've made great friends. And my idea is to have 2 brokers from every city in every country so I can make referrals that match my clients, not just randomly connect people. I want to actually know them, know that they're going to take care of my clients, and my clients will remember that the next time they need a referral.
Oh, that's awesome. What a smart strategy, a great way to kind of guide and grow your business. So I love that. I think that's really smart. But before we get more into the details and kind of your strategies and ways you network, which you shared a little bit with us just now, but we're going to get more into in a minute, I kind of want to hear a little bit more about you. Tell me about your career background, how you got started in real estate, and what's led you to where you are today.
Well, actually, I had a dream of being a doctor. So I'm Canadian. I was going to school in Canada, and I met a man and lived in New York, and I stepped off the plane and I fell in love. And I decided that I wanted to live in New York. And as a Canadian, you have to wait for your green card. So I'm a worker. I like to work. So what am I going to do while I'm waiting for my green card so I can go back to pre-med? And I went to NYU and I got my real estate license. And by the time I got my green card, I had 2 kids.
Wow.
And I had been selling real estate and loved it. I mean, there's nothing like New York. It's nothing. I mean, I see cities all over the world and I love Europe and I love showing apartments, but New York is in my bones now. I am, never leaving the city. I will go somewhere for the winters, sometimes down the road, because I really don't like getting cold anymore. But I love it here. And there's nothing, we talk about it on my podcast about, the vibrant city, especially in, September when everybody comes back from their vacations and the September's like the fashion weeks going on and all the restaurants are happening. Have you been to New York?
I have, but it was a long time ago when I was a kid. I mean, I was probably a teenager in high school, so it has been a very, very long time. But I need to get back. It's on my list of to go experience as an adult.
Okay, good. Well, when you do.
Yes.
But we have just so much going on in the real estate world, a lot of new development. I know that it gets a little bit of a rap because of what's happening with after COVID with the exit, which really didn't happen. Who did exit were the young people who lost their jobs because a lot of young bankers, whatnot, were renting. So there was a mass exit there. But most people that did leave went to homes they already had, like second homes. Some people sold. I mean, there were a lot of properties. The market was really hot after COVID. So we talk about that a lot because that market, nobody expected, nobody knew how the city was going to open up. And it was 3 years of craze.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, cities like New York, they're such a classic, timeless city, and I think that they'll stay like that. I think that it's going to take more than a pandemic, not to diminish anything that we all went through in the pandemic, but
No, of course not.
there it's going to stick around. It's always going to be one of those happening to do places where people are going to want to be.
And one more add to that was that the city missed a spring market, which is one of our biggest markets. I mean, it is our biggest market. People are usually shopping with school letters and they have to move because they're moving closer to the school or they need more space. We missed that one during shutdown. That was a spring. And that one market set everybody back because people who had to move couldn't. And by the time the lockdowns and, everything was opening up, people were lined up to see apartments. It's just interesting.
And the mortgage rates were so low. I mean, that's something we saw here too. You were getting, a house at 2 and 3%, which you didn't want that. It probably made some of the listings there way more affordable for some people that couldn't have afforded it at the higher, mortgage rates. So interesting. Wow, we could have done today's show on the New York real estate market.
But onward and
But,
upward.
but that's what your show is all about. And you were sharing with us before we started a little bit about your show that you just started as a fellow podcaster. Tell us a little bit about that.
So the show is called Beyond the Door NYC, and it's at clairegroom.com or beyondthedoornyc.com. And basically, it's a group. It's sort of like the show The View, but all real estate agents. It doesn't have to be real estate agents. I'm going to have developers on. I'm going to have stagers on. I'm going to really expand out. Then what I'm working on right now is where are New Yorkers buying outside of New York? So that's an interesting one because I'm going to have the St. Regis and Miami, their broker coming, Palm Beach, Texas, Nashville. I'm going to have a lot of brokers come from these cities that seem to be feeding New York's interest. So that's a good one. And then just the regular what's happening in New York and funny stories, and we have a good laugh.
That's awesome. You probably have a lot of winter birds who go down to Florida, like we have here in Ohio. We have a lot.
Snowbirds, yes.
Yeah, snowbirds. Thank you. That's the term. Yeah, we have a lot of them here in Ohio too. So I think
I'm sure because you have a similar. I grew up in
very
Canada,
similar.
so I know the Ohio cold.
Uh-huh.
I feel like the winters aren't as cold as they used to be in New York when I first came, but it's still long. It's gray, and I always wondered how can people be snowbirds, but now I see it because I'm older and I don't like getting cold, and I still have a lot of business in the winter time. But when it does taper down a little, I might look at doing something a few months of the year.
Yeah, I get it too. And I'm the same way. I'm like, no, I love it. I love my fireplace. I love, my cozy blankets and, that quiet snow falling. But then there's those days when it's just gray for like a week straight. And I'm like, okay, I need to see the sun. Like, I can't do this. So yeah, I get it. Okay, but I want to get into today's topic, networking. How we can switch it up, how we can do it better, kind of how it's evolved maybe than years past. In your opinion, have we seen a shift when it comes to networking and how we are connecting in our industry?
100%. So I don't know if you are or have heard of the Ninja installation. So there's a book out there and it's amazing. It's called Ninja Selling. It is absolutely a must-have. So it's geared for real estate agents, but honestly, any kind of salesperson can read it and take note from it. But they have these installations, which are big networking events now. And people do, 5, 6, 7 installations. They become masters. It's a group of agents from all over the world that will meet and they network while they're doing the installation. And they really, they talk about all the different aspects of how to sell. Also, it's about, waking up in the morning and the first thing you shouldn't do is roll over and look at your phone because it causes stress immediately. It's just more about working smarter than working harder. Manage your time, get up, have a little me time, have a cup of coffee, look at the newspaper, then look at your phone. It's just a way of starting your day that makes you feel so much more efficient than letting stress hit you the minute that you do that. I'm still working on it, to be honest. And it's a struggle for me because I get up in the morning and I want to see what hits the market before my clients do.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing worse than them seeing listings before you're able to send them to them. But that happens all the time. There's nothing you could do. It's like, porn, real estate porn for people. They just love being online looking.
Yes. Yeah.
And then of course, emails, you don't want to miss if somebody's trying to reach you in this business, but there is something so unhealthy about immediately reaching for your phone in the morning.
I'm guilty on that too. And I'm always like, I want to be that person who does that, who won't touch it, for 30 minutes or 20 after you wake up. But yeah, it's a bad habit. It's really bad habit. It's tough to break.
And then get in the office early in the morning, get your workout in, get in the office early in the morning. They suggest you write thank you cards, even doesn't have to be related to your sales or your clients, but write 3 thank you cards a day. Be grateful, open up your heart and your mind to being thankful for what we do. And anyway, it's called Ninja Selling. It's a great book and a great installation. I really recommend it. So that's one way. And then Sotheby's has a big networking event, the global networking event every year. So people come from all over the world. And then they have other ones that are just in the US. I've gotten to a lot already and I love them. And I've gotten to know so many people. And now I'm in groups and people are referring me business. And you can have a whole networking business without, listing properties. You can have a great business that way. Networking is so smart and fun. And it's really finding the brokers that you connect with that you would like to see work with your clients.
Yeah. Yeah. How should we be approaching networking in today's industry? You kind of talked about the different ways we could do it, going to some events, just working on ourselves. How do we approach it knowing what the industry is like now, some of the things that are happening? How should we approach networking in today's industry?
Well, reaching out for one, going visit the cities, meet the people, spend the time. Don't just exchange cards because cards for me, I can't remember. When I get home and I put all these cards on my desk and I realize, who is that again? You try to remember. Some people are so good at it. Like I'll get thank yous for the meeting and thank you. People are really, but if you're busy, it's hard. You have to. So to me, I really think going to these events or just going and visiting local offices. If you travel, stop by the local office, meet a couple of brokers, network that way. Go to parties. I go to parties. When I go to a party, not real estate related in New York, and I go to a lot of them, I always research the building and the sales every time I go to that party because I'll know people will ask. The owners always ask me about sales in their building, never fails. And when I look like I know all the recent sales, they're very impressed.
That's so smart. That's so smart to kind of be prepared because as realtors, you're going to get those questions. And I know our realtors.
How's the market?
Yes, they get it all the time. That's like the topic, conversation starter when you walk into that place and to be able to come already prepared with, hey, like in this neighborhood, here's the past, 5 sales or whatever. Like that is so smart. That's such a great way to approach that.
Well, when you've been doing real estate a long time, people value your opinion, but they will not value your opinion if you don't know what you're talking about. You have to follow the news. You have to know what's happening in the world. What's happening right now with the commissions. A lot of people are talking about that. I probably have 5 or 6 emails a day on what's going on. The press loves to write negative things about real estate agents and the commissions, but it's a simple thing. They don't want to feel that the sellers have to pay both sides of the commission. We have been putting it on the sellers, and they feel that that's been an illegal thing. So now in our contracts, it says that you don't have to pay both sides. When I pitch a listing, I always tell the sellers that in the current marketplace, which is a buyer's market at the moment, even though the market's strong, people are still, the interest rates are up. It's a tougher market to get a deal through. I just price the commissions into the asking price. If they're okay with that, then that ends up making everybody happy. They're in a seller's market, that might change. We might have a different situation. If you're working for the seller, your job is to say that the most recent comps in the building, the commission's built in. Right. So how do we undo that a little bit? Maybe then the prices will come down, which is what the news is saying. It's not a bad thing. It's just explaining it properly. That's all.
Exactly. I think that's totally true. It's just those conversations are going to have to start being had that maybe have it, in the past, or at least into more detail than what it has been in the past. And you're right. I don't think it's a bad thing either. I think, it's just another evolution of our industry. Real estate's been around for a long time. These changes have happened. They're going to continue to happen. We're going to continue to grow and evolve, as we need to. And I think that this is just kind of the next reiteration of what we're seeing.
I mean, I don't know in Ohio how you see it, but the buyer's agents in New York do a lot of work. They take the buyers all over the city. They do the board packages. They negotiate on behalf of them. I mean, there's just as much work done on their side. So it's a really important thing. But again, part of networking, people will ask me at parties. People are asking me on. It's a really good idea to educate yourself about it.
And you're right. I mean, now it is a news topic. I mean, I can't tell you how many people over the weekend were texting me about, did you see this? What's going on? How did we get here?
Because the headlines are so startling.
Yeah.
We're all doomed as brokers.
Yeah. But that is just such another good opportunity to talk about you and the work you do and to start kind of building those relationships. So being prepared for that and what you're saying whenever you're headed into a social situation, I think is really smart and really a good way to prepare.
Actually, I like to call myself an advisor rather than a broker because it just sounds so much, we advise. I mean, people really have their most important possessions in your hands when you're selling. Your houses are your homes are what you've invested in for years, and you want to see your property get through the finish line. And we advise on what's the best thing to do.
Smart. I like that perspective.
Yeah.
This episode of The Real View is brought to you by the Ohio Association of Community Colleges. Ohio's network of community colleges provides accessible training that accommodates the busy lifestyles of aspiring real estate professionals at half the price of a traditional university. With convenient locations in every part of the state, as well as online options, Ohio's community colleges are your smart choice for pre-licensing education. For more details or to start the journey to a real estate career, visit the education page at ohiorealtors.org and then click on the pre-license course locations.
Yeah. And another thing that you talk about too is professional development and how that kind of plays into networking and how, we gain those new relationships. What role do you see professional development playing in with today's networking?
In which way do I talk about it? Elaborate, if you don't mind.
Just about, the opportunities when we work on ourselves, when we're going through professional development, kind of opportunities that brings to connect with new people, to kind of grow ourselves and our skills and kind of bring that new business in. Does that make sense?
I do a lot. I mean, like podcasts are a really good way of doing a professional development. I do my own little show, as you know. I do mailings, but I do them smartly. I really don't. I do very target. I don't want to just become garbage. And some, people get so upset when you stuff their mailboxes. But if you have something worthy to say, I usually talk about things that are going on in the neighborhood that are concerning to sellers. Will it affect their pricing? What's happening with the interest rate? With the empty lot down the streets is looking so ugly. What's happening there? Anything developing? I'm always working on that kind of stuff. I enjoy doing mailings very much. I love marketing. So if I have like business cards that I make that are trifold, so they have all my listings on them and everything that I've sold, I actually will mail a building. When I've done a lot of deals in that building, I'll fill the trifold with those listings and then talk about the sales for the last year. And people really like target mailing. So I work on that a lot. And then, of course, all the networking stuff I do. I belong to a group of top brokers who we get together and help each other price properties. So whenever I pitch a property, I always tell people, the sellers, that I'll bring in a group and we'll compare notes so where we think that the property should be priced. And that's super helpful. And the sellers all really love that.
That's really cool. That's a great way to kind of that you're all getting something out of it, right? You're all kind of collaborating on this because you're so much like, oh, we're all in competition with each other, right? But like that's such a good way.
Yeah, no, you work together. It's a collab, really. I mean, we all help
Yeah.
each other at this level. And then one other thing I'll do is sometimes I'll do a Zoom with agents. And if it's a property like a condo or a townhouse, I will bring in agents on a Zoom from other countries that might have buyers that are looking in New York. And they really like that. They really like have their property exposed. I bring them on the call and we have a Zoom together and they feel that they're getting that exposure because a lot of people love that reach that it has.
Yeah, that's another really great strategy. Okay, so we haven't talked about like in-person networking, how we can kind of do some of that differently, do it out of the box, do it in ways we haven't before. What about online networking? What's your take on that? And what are some ways we can network online? So that's such a huge part of today's world.
So again, I think people were pretty exhausted from the Zooms after COVID, but we do the Ninja group that I belong to. We do a morning Monday coffee. So that's a fun one. So we sit and talk and we always have good ideas. And we're always asking who's the broker that we know in Ohio, who's the broker that we know here, like who can we refer our clients to? And those always come up on the call. So there's a lot of that. There's courses you can take online that they throw, but I'm very involved with the Ninja Network. I love it. I read the book years ago before any of the installations started. So I'm a big fan.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. How often should we be refreshing or looking at new ways to network? What's your approach to that, and how do you kind of handle how often you refresh and try to look for new and exciting ways to do this?
So every year I sit down and do a business plan and I pretty much follow through. I also have spreadsheets, all my deals. I move things from maybes to, warm to hot to on the market to closed. It's really important to be organized. Like I said, the thank you cards go a long way. Even if somebody asks you a question and you find out the answer down the road, write a note, pick up the phone, make a call, go out of your way. People really like that. It shows that you're on the ball. And I have to say there's a million brokers out there, but people are very loyal to their people. And I've been broker for people who have bought their first bedrooms all the way up to their three bedrooms and sold their parents' apartments and downsized them. And you become part of the family. So it's important to stay on top of things. So we
Yeah.
make a business plan and have a plan of what kind of marketing you're going to do at least one networking event every year. And go to whenever you travel, stop by your firm or a firm. If you're not a Sotheby's agent, then try to find something that you can network and meet a broker and make a connection. People love when you stop by their offices.
Yeah, it's a great opportunity for not only you, but the agents in the office that you're visiting and the brokers that you're visiting as well.
And then when you meet somebody that you do connect with, then reach out to them and say, can we have a coffee? Or can we have a Zoom? I would love to connect. Who do you send business to New York? If not, do you have any business that maybe we can work on together? It's so funny how things come around to you.
So true. And just the smallest interaction can lead, to something so much bigger and greater. And that's a part of relationship building too, right? I mean, I think when we think about networking, so much of it is, yes, meeting those new people, but then it's up to you how you grow that relationship and how you nurture that and make it an everlasting. I mean, you kind of were hitting on some of that with just like, I've had agents who I helped get in their first home and now they're buying, their fifth and sixth piece of real estate. Talk to us a little bit more. Give us some of your strategies of ways that you nurture those relationships and how do we keep that bond going beyond that initial interaction?
Oh, so I keep a track of every sale I've ever done. And then on the anniversary of that sale, I send out emails for years. Happy anniversary on your sale. This is the day we close. People love it.
Oh, that's cool.
Absolutely love it. So I keep track of all my sales and I remember. I buy gifts, obviously, like everybody does, but I try to be thoughtful with my gifts. So it's not something that's just, a coffee table book that you get a stack of. Personal touch is huge in our business, as you know. I just stay current with the market. I stay current with the news and do a lot of socializing.
And I think too, what you said about just giving your clients that good experience, being their advisor, I think that in itself really starts help foster that.
Yeah, I mean, we tell people what they need to do. We were so much more than just selling a home. There's, whether it needs staging, then you have to have your staging relationship, and then you have to manage the relationship there because it's very difficult to get the apartment staged because people don't want to spend the money. And then you've got the painter. The place needs painting. I mean, you have to paint the apartment. If you've lived in it for 5 years plus and it hasn't been painted, it always needs a refresh, but people don't see it. People walk in, they think that they're, the clutter, any kind of clutter, people don't want to look at all that. You have to clean your apartment. So it's advising people how to get their apartment ready. And then, then you have to have the big conversation about price. And most of the time, people are always hopeful that their apartments or their houses are higher than where they are. But you're sensitive, but at the same time, all of our goals is to make money. And our goal is the more money you make, the more money we make, and everybody's happy. But overpricing in this market's always a mistake. And you can really hurt the sale by doing that. So it's a sensitive conversation. And then, of course, getting it through the finish line. There's so much more to that because it's what if people aren't calling enough? What if there aren't as many showings? What if you get low offers? So it's a constant relationship between you. It's like a team. Whenever I email my sellers or my buyers, it's always like, hey, team, because we're a team. We're in this together. So I feel very confident whenever I get something finished that people are pleased because it's a tough process. It's not always easy. I find it's been a long time since I've had a super easy deal.
No, it's so true. And everyone's different and you never know what, you're going to encounter. There's something that is new in almost every situation. No matter how much experience you have, you can never be prepared, for that next one. I think too, it's just staying on your toes and being ready to.
As years go on and you get more and more experience, you just have to have confidence in what you do and who I know how to do this. I love it. I still get up every day and love my job. And the minute that stops, then I won't do it anymore.
Yeah.
But I've been 25 years selling real estate and hard times and good times. And many times my feelings have been hurt and you just have to push through it and remember that it's business.
Absolutely. What advice do you have for people who say like this is so overwhelming? Oh my gosh, I have to go to all these events. I have to send letters. I have to, spend time, going to all these different offices and stuff. What would you say to people who say it's overwhelming, or how can we make it less overwhelming and more of a kind of thing we just do in a routine or habit?
Well, you have to suck it up. It's a relationship business. Honestly, if you're not comfortable in a room, networking and socializing, it's a tough business to be in without doing that. It's very difficult to sit at home and get clients, especially if you're starting out in the business. I mean, so when I started out, obviously I had kids, and then my friends would buy apartments, and then their, parents would sell their apartments, and then the friends would buy bigger apartments, and then they would refer me somebody. And so, that's how you start, but it wasn't easy. I got the runway award at my firm, it took me 10 years to take off because my kids were so young and it's hard to really build your business. So they called it the runway award because it was like a long time. But when I took off, I really took off.
That's
And
cool.
there were times that it was hard. And, you have to go home and feed the kids and get the babysitter and go to the event, but it's worth it. You have to love it. And I love it. I still have just as much energy as I did 25 years ago. It's shocking. And I think because I love what I do, that has a lot to do with it.
And you can hear it in your voice. I think it comes across how you speak about it.
It's really the best job for me. I mean, I think maybe I would go back and finish my degree just because it bothered me. It bothers me there that I never did. There will be a day where I'm going to work on referrals and slow down my business and just do a lot of referring. And maybe I'll just go back to school. And because I hate not finishing something that I started, but I love what I do. I say about retiring, but then I'm not sure if that will ever happen.
Well, and they always say if you love what you do, then it's not truly a job. It's not truly work. And I think, this is a perfect example of that and probably why you're still going.
Yeah, my son is like, oh, I want to, I said, you have to pick a career that you're going to love in order to make money because it's really something that drives you. The money's just the bonus. I love showing apartments. I love New York. I think that's my bottom line is that I don't know if I would love it as much if I lived somewhere else. I love New York. So that comes across a lot with me.
Yeah, when you're passionate about something, it makes it real easy. It comes just natural. Yeah, for sure. Well, Claire, I want to thank you so much for joining me on this episode. This was so great to talk to you.
It's over already?
I know, it goes so fast.
Well, thank you for having me, and I would love to come back.
Yes.
You're a terrific interviewer.
Thank you. And you did a fantastic job too. I always love when I have fellow podcasters who join me because you get our world and you know how all this works. So
yeah, it's just so fun driving and listening I really enjoy podcasts myself.
Yeah. Well, thank you again for coming on and for sharing all of your knowledge around this topic and your passion with us too. It's very inspirational to hear people like you who love our industry so much. So I appreciate it again. And to all our listeners tuning in, thank you guys so much for listening. We'll be back with you next week.
Thank you for listening to The Real View. That wraps up today's episode. You can keep up with the latest on the podcast at ohiorealtors.org/therealview and on Apple or Google Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen. Have questions, comments, or suggestions? We want to hear from you. Email us at podcast@ohiorealtors.org. We'll see you next time.